Most High for
All,
another day. Can't
all
complain.
praise to the Most High for yet another Sabbath day indeed.
Yeah,
All praises to Most High.
yeah.
Yeah, this is unusual Sabbath
Indeed.
for me because I'd be in bed right now because I
Oh,
don't do anything on the Sabbath.
good, good. Me too.
In fact, I'm in bed. I've just got the camera turned the wrong way around.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, sorry, I was having some difficulties. I was with the Zoom. But everything is good now, so good to be with you guys.
Peace and y'all
What
there. Same
happened?
here. I'm still messing with mine, but I can hear you all and I can respond. So until I get it on my laptop, meanwhile, let's commence.
Okay.
Indeed, indeed.
So it says a lot of things been going on. You
Yeah,
know,
what's been going on in your area in the UK?
in the UK, I haven't been there. I haven't been here in the UK. I'm not sure. I've only been back for a couple of weeks.
Oh, are
well,
you still
Uh,
in
Cuba.
oh, you just got back from you was in Cuba, yes?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
I'll be interested to know what's happening in Cuba. Actually, again, it's a place where we are.
Yeah, yeah, it's Caribbean. Yeah, Cuba is the basically the government's. It's kind of some things are messed up because the government's still in control. The situation is not good. The food, sometimes you can't find certain foods, and sometimes you can. And the money situation, the exchange rate, the banks give you one exchange rate which is low. On the street, they give you another exchange rate which is reasonable.
Hmm.
Their money's not worth anything outside, and basically, it's a situation that the salary is not good for the local people. You can't survive. It's like $5 a day.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, I keep saying though that this is happening all over the world, right? Obviously by design, right? That the monetary system is crashing slowly. Yeah, they've engineered a famine, a worldwide famine, so that food is hard to get. They've engineered the food so it's not food anyway. Yeah, so even if the shelves are full, there's no food there. Yeah,
Hmm.
um, but I keep reminding people of a film, right? And I use references to films a lot because in this society they put the truth in films in fiction, and they put the fiction in the news, right? So if you want to know what's going on, watch some of the films they put out.
Yeah,
So the film I draw people's attention to is Leave the World Behind, right?
I've seen that
The
movie.
film by the Obamas, yeah. So if you watch the film as a muggle, as an ordinary person, right, you just see the surface. Oh, yeah, the world's falling apart. The Teslas are all going back to the all that stuff. Yeah, but if you know what's going on, you'll see that film is about us because there's all these little Easter eggs that point back to us. The focus on 1619, the families were the Sanfords and the Scots, which is um, the Dred Scott decision. Um, or yeah, the actually even the name of the farm the white guy in the film went stopped at was the Tainley. I can't remember the name. Tainley Farms, which was the judge, the name of the judge, who basically in the Dred Scott case said the black man has no rights that white people are bound to honor. Yeah. So the film really was about us, but in a
uh,
coded way,
because
right?
in the car, the radio came 1619, right?
1619, yeah. And the beach they went to was in Point Comfort, which is where yeah, there's so many references. But what I wanted to draw your attention to is as the world was falling apart, there were deer. The deer would come out and like hundreds of deer would just appear, and they would just stand there and watch. Okay. Now, and there was one occasion where a big stag came out in front. Now, what would we called during slavery? What would they call a young black slave? You know, a young male black slave. They'd call him a buck.
Yeah, book. Yeah.
Yeah. So the deer symbolized us in that film, right? Our job in this time where the world is falling apart is to stand and watch, not get involved, not worry, not fear. Most High says over and over again, do not fear. Right? And he meant it. Do not, we have nothing to fear in this world, right? All this stuff that's happening, right? All the calamities, the famine and all that, all the difficulties, we've been through that. It's for us, it's a Tuesday. So it's all the other people that are running around in fear. Again, we have to stand back and watch as this period unfolds. And I point this period back to, again, the book of Genesis, where the next line after Abraham gets the prophecy that your seed will go into slavery and affliction for 400 years. The next line is, and that nation, the nation that took him into slavery, that nation shall I judge, and after they'll leave with great substance. So we are in the period right now of the judgment of the nations. So again, our job is just to stand and watch
Yeah.
while the nations get judged.
We didn't hear that last part. You came like a Dalek.
Mhm.
You signal. Just the last
Oh,
part.
did I? Oh, I was just saying that the all these calamities are hard and terrible and everything, but for us it's a Tuesday. We've been through it. We can handle it. Our job is to stand and watch,
Yeah.
and wait until watch the judgment of the nations, basically. Yeah, watch it unfold, right? And don't get involved in it. Don't get terrified by it. Let it happen, right? It's gonna, I reckon we've got, more to come of this. It's gonna get worse and worse, but do not fear. The Most High keeps saying, do not fear.
Mhm. Definitely, I definitely agree. I'm glad you're speaking of the money system. I definitely agree with like it's like a global economic collapse. It's happening everywhere, even here in what they call the Middle East, but here in the Sinai, Egypt, um, the currency here is has been falling for quite some time. I remember when I first got here in 2019, just to give you a kind of a general idea of how bad this economic system is falling. In 2019, for every one US dollar, the ratio was 1 to 15. So with every one US dollar, you get 15 Egyptian pounds. Now, 5 years later, it's every $1 to 49 to 50 Egyptian pounds.
Ooh.
Yeah, so so that just shows you how economic this it's an economic it's kind of spiraling down and getting out of control, to the point where the local currency is barely worth anything at the moment. If most foreigners like myself here wasn't making US dollars and currency, you wouldn't be able to really survive here making the local currency. Local people get charged a different rate than foreigners. Foreigners get charged a lot more. So if we had to live by their monetary system, we wouldn't be able to survive. So yeah, and then you mentioned like the Most High is judging, these nations. I'm like in the midst of all of it. I'm like in dead center of everything that's going on. Just south of me, you have the Houthis in Yemen that's shooting long-range missiles that has to pass over the Sinai Peninsula in order to reach Israel. So you got north of me, just north of the border, you got the war in Gaza, which is intensifying. You know, um, you got this situation going on with Iran, and the United States. So Pakistan and India. Just a lot of chaos going on, and like you mentioned, it's just gonna continue to get worse. But I'm in the midst of it, man, and we have no fear out here, man. Just like you said, we just sitting back watching the Most High do what He do. I do want to add to that though. Yeah, we as far as the nations, yeah, we watch the Most High will do His work. But I think it's also important that we take this time to analyze and self-reflect on ourselves to make sure that we in line with the Most High. Keeping your mind stayed on the law first and foremost, which is the foundation of everything, but also building internal work. A lot of us come, especially us in America and the UK. I've been doing a lot of research in the UK too. Y'all have experienced a lot of, what I mean, society, racial, discrimination, what I mean, oppression and all that. So, like the Most High said, this will be upon us wherever we are, all four corners of the earth for the children of Israel. So coming out of a deep, captivity, a lot of trauma and things like that that we've experienced over our lives. So I just think that even as we watching the Most High judge the nations, as far as our people, we should be focusing on, like I said, just doing the internal work and making sure that our frequencies is in line with the Most High. So when that time comes, we'll be prepared, and the Most High will be able to dwell in the midst of it. So yeah, that's what I've been focusing on. Like I said, all the chaos going on. I keep my eyes on it, what I mean, just to be aware of what's going on. But yeah, I've been focusing on, like I said, myself and just making sure that, that I'm focusing on self-improvement, all the type of things. So I think I just want to encourage those that's watching, take this time, use this time wisely, what I'm saying, to do the inner work.
That's it.
Right.
So I think the money system, they want to make it digital eventually, right? I don't know if it's like the Bitcoin or some cryptocurrency like that. That's what they're trying to do, And a lot of things are changing. Like they get the Burkina Faso, the guy in Africa, and it seems like West Africa is kind of rising up. It's kind of changing a lot.
Yeah.
You might see that from where you are.
Yeah, even here they're trying to slow, Egypt is a developing country. They're trying to emerge with this new age technology, so now they're starting to go a little bit more digital. As for where I'm at, is, like I said, it depends on where you at. I'm in the Sinai, so this is pretty much local territory. You have the Bedouins and things like that who live here, who pretty much control this area for the most part. But they're still trying to evolve. So yeah, I do see a digital monetary system coming to Egypt soon. um but those of you watching, this is just a recommendation. um I recommend that you start going to natural resources and start now if you can. I don't know what the rates like in the UK when as far as silver and gold. I know gold is pretty high as far as compared to the US dollar is super high. So that's pretty much most of our people can't afford that type of stuff. But just I feel like this is the time to be going into natural commodities, natural resources. If you can get some silver, just stack up and whatever you can afford, because this money system is crashing, all over the world. The paper dollar's out. I know BRICS is coming up with their thing, but I just think at the end of the day, natural resources is coming back to power. You see in Africa, Africa's going to be, I don't know if you've been keeping what's going on in Africa, but a lot of these African nations, Burkina Faso, Mali,
Yeah,
Niger,
Chad.
Niger, and then you got other African nations that's going to start following suit. They're starting to go back to the natural resources of gold. So I feel like even when the Most High returns the children of Israel, I feel like our partners is going to be in Africa. Our trade partners is going to be one of the biggest. African nations is going to be one of our biggest trade partners, in the near future. So natural resources is coming back into play. So we might as well try to get ahead of the curve now if you can afford
Well, where are the natural resources? Yeah,
it. In
they're in
Africa.
Africa.
There
Yeah,
you go.
um,
Absolutely.
wasn't it just a few years ago? I think it was Kenya who discovered essentially a mountain full of gold.
Yeah, and now
Yeah,
Uganda just found it. They found worth like 12 trillion, I think, $12 trillion worth of gold that they just found. So, look, keep on
right. I was waiting. I was waiting for America to come and liberate them of the gold. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I, Africa is obviously the richest country in the world. It's just they've inverted everything. I actually believe that's maybe where we're going. In the Exodus, but yeah, that we're watching. I'll butcher this name, Ibrahim Traore. Um, and his rise is I think his rise seems biblical. I don't know. I mean, it could be sort of a put up, but it seems to me is. Oh,
Oh,
you're here
you're here
twice.
twice.
Echo.
Yeah, he might have to mute one of
Yeah,
them.
brother Lee, you're here twice.
You need to
Oh yeah,
delete the one
I'm
off
yeah.
your
If
aware
you
of
can
it.
phone.
Hang
mute
on, I'm trying to cut
both your
one off.
phone
One
and your
second.
laptop. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. His rise seems biblical because um, I I think was it April 30th?
Yeah,
There
April
was
30th, they all
protests
march
all over the
everywhere.
world,
I
everywhere.
haven't seen since I haven't seen somebody had that much recognition all over the world like he has. I don't know anybody,
Yeah.
even Gaddafi. He wasn't well. He was known, but not like that.
Well, Gaddafi
Absolutely.
was a pawn of the initially he was a pawn of the West. He was put there by the
Yeah.
West, but then he followed his own
Mhm.
script. Yeah, and they don't like it when you
Mhm.
follow your own script. In
Yeah,
fact,
okay.
to be part of their club, you
Yeah.
have to swear an oath to their club, and if you break
Mhm.
that oath, they said you'll be killed. So that's what happened to him.
Right.
He broke his oath, and they killed him. But I don't think Traore has signed that oath. It's not
Mhm.
part of their gang, and yeah, I think people are recognizing that perhaps he's legit. He's on the side of the
Mhm.
people, and he is leading the fight against the colonialists and booting them out.
So, mhm. On a macro scale, we're witnessing the fall of the Western, even all the world wars. It all started from over natural resources, and now, during those times, that's when the Western powers were coming into play. They were coming into, you know, as a power of the nation. So but they was able to conquer Africa, colonize it. But now it's a switch, but what makes this different now is that, Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traoré, he's now backed by other powers in the East, Russia, China, North Korea is even talking about, helping, you got so many different powers that's in opposition to the West, and I think that is where, he has some sense of security to stand up against America and France and things like that. Also, the unification of African nations, so yeah, this is a much bigger than Gaddafi, in my opinion. This is
Yeah.
a switch in global power, and I think that Africa's going to be right in the middle of it.
Because he brought 700 North Korean militant soldiers came and to his country. You
Yeah,
know,
Well,
yeah, and I think, well, I think Russia has been, involved. Yeah, even the situation with Niger when they had the uprising and they basically kicked the French out. The Russians send, their Wagner mercenaries in there to protect and to make sure that, a transition was, it was a smooth transition to get the troops out and things like that. Even the United States bases had to depart. So, yeah, I just think this is going to be a trend going on in Africa soon, and you can feel it. Like a lot of the Western puppets in Africa, like in Nigeria, Ghana, in certain places, even Ghana is starting to try to pull away from the West. But like you said, once you're in line with them, it's kind of hard to break out. So they're going to have to. I don't know how they're going to get out of this situation. Somebody's going to have to sacrifice something.
no,
But if they truly break from the West, yeah. They're gonna have
Because
to make some sacrifice.
I think the president from Ivory Coast let that invasion take place. What happened about a week ago, and now the people against the president, and the army rise up against the president. So I
Hmm.
think any African leader wants to go against him, the people are going to rise up against the
Yeah,
Well,
people in power.
absolutely.
well,
Well, one of the key African. I'm sorry.
I was just going to add to your point. That now now it's gone out of my head.
Okay. Yeah. All
No,
right.
you
He's
carry
growing
on. It'll
old.
come back. I'm getting. No, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say I'm getting old. But yeah, carry on.
Now, I was just going to mention really quickly. Um, one of the key one of the key places is the Democratic Republic of the Congo. That's where the West is still trying to have their hands in. That's why, they're in cahoots with the president of Rwanda, which is a sellout. And they created the M13, this rebel mercenaries that went into, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, initiated a war. Once the Democratic Republic of the Congo finally rises up and overthrows their puppet president, that's when you're really going to see a major shift because the Democratic Republic of the Congo holds all the natural resources that basically is one of the key components of why we even on this laptops or why we on our devices. That's going to control the tech world once whoever gets control of the DRC. So yeah, keep on the watch out for that as well.
Well, what I was going to say before I had my senior moment is that this is again from the Old Testament. That in the beginning there was the confederation against us. All nations were confederate against us, but in the end, all Esau's allies were going to turn against them, and that's what we're seeing. We're seeing this slow implosion of all these. I frozen? Oh, okay. We're seeing this implosion where all the nations are turning in on each other, and they're fighting each other. Um, so so again, I say we sit back and watch.
Welcome, Lee.
Peace and y'all bless everyone. It's official. I'm here.
Peace and love.
Finally made it. Yeah, well done. I'm waiting for you to. I'm waiting for you to say it, Lee, and have a go at Henry.
What?
Because well, I want to say, where's your beard, sir?
Oh,
Oh,
Where's your beard, sir?
I still got.
Oh wow,
yeah.
you are the odd man now. Everybody got a full beard. You know.
I'm gonna tell you what, speaking of beard, right? A few months ago, I actually brought my beard down, right? Still had a beard on my face, but man, I looked so crazy. I was gonna do a video that weekend. I said, no, I can't come before the people looking like this. It was still on there, but it was just too low, and I won't do that again. It looked crazy. So Henry, right now, officially, you're looking crazy. You've got to grow your beard back.
Right.
Yeah, you
I
gotta
You
get
I
that
have
go.
to.
beard
I have to
pulled,
keep
man.
mine. I have to keep mine short because my beard grows
Mhm.
out. Doesn't go down. It goes
See,
out. And I.
mine doesn't do that. I wish mine did. On the sides, for me, it's more so a narrow beard, but some guys can grow it out on the sides, man. Mine can't grow like that. I wish it could.
I
Wow,
just
that's
look like
crazy
I've
because I
got a
wish
face
mine could grow
afro.
longer. Mine can't grow long, man. Mine it'll come out, but it doesn't go long. It doesn't go past here, man. I don't know why. No matter how much I try to comb it down, but now I cannot get that length to get going, man. I just can't. I don't know why, man. But yeah, I wish mine could grow longer.
Yeah, I said I look like I have a face afro. If I had hair, it would be funny. I'd have one afro here and one down here.
Oh
I've uh,
man.
I've heard
Yeah.
some of the
Anyway,
topics.
yes.
I've
So
heard some of the
so
topics.
consider yourself reprimanded. Right, the Most High would not be pleased. You've gone against His word and got rid of that beard. So
Yeah, you
That's it. That's it. I understand.
Yeah, I mean,
right,
I'm thinking.
yeah,
I mean, with some of the things that you gentlemen have covered today,
Mhm.
we certainly know that the economical collapse is taking place. We're seeing in America, we've discussed this before, the foreclosure rates are increasing dramatically. Uh, Loss of jobs, a lot of cars being repossessed. People aren't able to maintain their vehicles, uh, and credit cards are maxed out. So, I mean, the people have nowhere to go by which to gain money. Uh, and this is the natural disasters. I mean, I know for certain the insurance companies are increasing their fees for the homeowners. So, because the natural disasters are hitting in many areas where some of these insurance companies are pulling out of these areas, it's extremely hard to find insurance. And if you do, it's extremely expensive. So, becoming a homeowner or maintaining home ownership has dramatically increased along with the cost of living. With all of these things happening, imagine that you're strapped, car note may be behind, the house note may be behind, and the tornado comes through and rip the roof off of your house, or a tree lands and smashes into your car. If your credit is maxed out, you have no means by which to borrow any money. Sometimes the government help, i.e., FEMA, et cetera, can be extremely slow. So there's a whole lot of pressures here. If we're to add the wars that we are foreseeing that will come, then the pressure on this nation will be extreme and others.
Mm.
Well,
Um,
you know what? There are
go
no
ahead.
natural disasters. Oh, sorry. There are no natural disasters. They're all this. All of this is being engineered.
I mean, you
But as
understand. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'll let you finish. Go
yeah,
ahead.
but as I said, this isn't anything that we haven't dealt with before. And in fact, I kind of suspect that we might have been softened over the last few years so that we fall into line with the others. But it's in our DNA to be able to survive this. Because that's how our ancestors had to. They had to survive. No resources. Yeah, it's the other people who don't know how to survive without resources. Yeah, so again, stand and watch.
You
You know,
know, go ahead, brother.
you boots on the yeah, you boots on the ground there. I haven't been there in over 6 years, man. So it's kind of like I have no recollection of anything at the moment as far as like what's going on in the United States of America. Um, so I want to ask you, since Donald Trump, this Trump regime came in back to reemerged, has it seems like things are getting worse. Is things getting worse there, or is it kind of like Kwame, consistent with the Joe Biden administration? What's your thoughts about that in as far as Donald Trump and what's been going on and his influence on it?
I'm thinking things are getting worse as far as the nation and its appearance in the eyes of other nations. Uh, I'm thinking, let's look from the inside out. From the inside, what you're seeing now is many of those who thought they were part of the team are beginning to find out that they're not. Uh, a lot of people are beginning who thought that they were part of the American dream is being stripped away. Many who have thought that or have had the good jobs, uh, have had that cushion under their feet, so to speak, it's been ripped out from under them. And these are the Europeans that are here. Now, many of the Hispanics that are here also have felt as though that they were part of the American dream. The reality has hit them that they're not. They're being deported, their families being torn apart, though they voted for him. Uh, as far as our people here, many of us have felt the same way. But, we've been taught and brought up into Christianity as far as, we're all the same people and we're all God's people, et cetera, et cetera. And many of our people would like to keep the understanding that we're all one and would believe this, though their eyes see something entirely different. I think right now what our people are really facing is we're looking at the hypocrisy of this nation before our face. And I'm thinking it's gotten so bad that finally our people are beginning to get tired and will no longer go along with this as they have in times past. I'm thinking that uh, the hypocrisy, the violence, and everything else that's anti-Yah about this nation, our people are going to have to finally deal with this in their faces, where there's no room to hide and there's no place to run, and we're going to have to deal with this wickedness, And I'm thinking the main decision that everyone is going to have to make that's living here and those that are abroad is okay, you've held on to this wickedness long enough. Now, as it goes down, are you willing to hold on to it and go down with it? And I'm thinking that's where we are right now.
Um, yeah, as far as our people, like where do we turn next, man? I mean, it seems like America is a house on fire, and is not too long before it's burnt down completely, especially economically. Um, and I don't know, man. It seems like as far as Donald Trump, you know. It's the people who pulling the strings behind him, I think. I don't know if this is intentionally to collapse the economy because none of his policies are helping boost it. Even the trade wars, raising tariffs and things, which is just going to automatically fall back on the consumers, which is going to make prices rise, and like you said, during the time of inflation, I'm just, as far as our people, I don't really know any advice to give them at this point, like it seems like the America is even, small business owners pretty much is non-existent anymore. People don't have the money to support small businesses, so trying to be self-sufficient on your own, create your own business is not even an option pretty much anymore in the United States. So yeah, man, like you said, the job market's really low, people not really, and if you are working jobs, the inflation it's pretty much you can't get ahead. And also, I've noticed that Donald Trump has started to cut a lot of government assistance, for our people. So yeah, I mean, I'm at a standstill. I really don't know what else to advise except for, of course, turning to the law, statutes, and commandments. Um, but yeah, so what would be your recommendations for people now, and where do you see it going for our
I,
people?
I I'll tell you what, as it pertains to that question, Brother Dawid, many people are having these conversations, whether it be economical, geopolitical, et cetera, et cetera. It is impossible to have these conversations and not put the Most High first because He is the one that's orchestrating all of this from start to finish. So, when it comes to advising our people which way to go, now, those who are walking outside the confines of the law, the Most High's law is their sanctuary, it's the embassy, it's where you can hide
Mhm.
uh, and still be protected. Many of our people, they've been taught to go after the money, go after the promotions, et cetera, et cetera. If there's anything that the pandemic has taught us, is that our jobs are not safe and it can be taken at any time. This is the point where the house of Israel scattered to the four corners of the earth have to ask themselves, is this book really true? We're saying that we have to depend on this man for the want of all things, for the job, for his medicines, for some gas, for anything, for the clothes that we wear on our backs, etc. So here this man has the ability to literally cut your job off and literally stifle your livelihood. You're in the hands of your enemies. So now do we go ahead and continue to count on the ways of our enemies by which to survive, or do we do that which we have been instructed? Turn to the Most High's laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts. Let him be our fear. Let him be our dread. Let him be our deliverer. Let him be our provider. Do we do that? Or we do say, hey, man, I'm going to go ahead and work and get all the hours I can and hoping that I can stack up some food and the roaches and the rats will eat it because the Most High was not being placed first. So, my suggestion to our people is as the times get harder, you will see the inhumanity in your fellow man.
Mhm.
I've got a brother that I know, very good brother, love him. Older brother, he's like 12, 10 years my senior. He's about 62. And as we have these conversations, he's telling me, man, he said, you're the only one trying to do right. He said, man, but you're doing right all by yourself because no one else is. And so, because everyone is doing fine, everyone is trying to cheat you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And our people who are walking in the way, you're going to hear this. You're going to be enticed to leave the path to dwell in and to walk in the unrighteous path because everyone else is walking the unrighteous path. So, my advice to our people is there's going to be those around you telling you, man, you doing that which is right is worthless. and
Mm.
you're not to adhere to such counsel. You're to continue to walk in the Most High's laws, statutes, judgments, precepts, because that's your only deliverance. For everyone is going to turn to the way of wickedness. The harder things get, the worst in humanity we will see.
Mm.
And what's going to separate the righteous from the wicked is those who will turn to the path of wickedness and those who will not. And it's as simple as that.
I actually think that America is, the forerunner of this whole agenda. I think because the exilarchs, the royalty of Judah is in America mostly. Yeah. So, the focus of it is going to be in America, and it slowly sort of permeates the rest of the world. Yeah. So, in England, in the UK, yeah, the same thing is happening, but slower. It's not as sharp and pointed. Yeah, we're seeing the same collapse, but it's not hit as hard yet. I'm watching videos from Americans all the time who are saying, I'm on a six-figure salary and I can't afford to survive. You know,
Exactly.
um, yeah. So, but we're in England, in the UK, we're not there yet. I'm seeing people complaining about how hard life is and that, but yeah, it's it's
It's frozen.
and it's permeating out
You're
because
frozen the last
it's
few
it's
minutes.
hardly affected. Oh, yeah, okay. Um, yeah, and St. Lucia is hardly affected, that area. So yeah, it's a slow burn.
Yeah, Elder Dave, you freaked up.
You're breaking up.
Yeah, breaking up. Yeah, man.
Yeah, I apologize. My bad internet here. I was just saying that it's a slow burn from America. America's the hub where it's happening, and it's very slowly permeating out. Whereas in St. Lucia, it's hardly affected life there. Only the American goods are expensive, but it's starting American. It's slowly moving out everywhere.
So, well, a lot of the countries in Africa now, they're calling the poorer back. In even Burkina Faso, they said, oh, if they want to come back to the country, the West and Ghana and all the rest. But I think a lot of us, when a lot of people who've gone back, they don't feel welcome. They don't. The people look at them like they are foreigners.
Yeah, well, as it pertains to that. And by the way, Brother Hank, I saw you turn to the side and you're totally out of order. Your face is bald, brother. What's going on with you?
I know. I just you're not so bad.
Oh, you got a bald face, brother. You gotta don't come before the people like this again. You are out of order.
I
Anyway,
know.
so look, right? As it pertains to Burkina Faso, man, look, a lot of our people, we have problems dealing with each other in the very nations in which we dwell. So from one neighborhood to the next, one city to the next, east side to the west side, east coast to the west coast to the Midwest, though we're the same family, we have different cultures. Brother from the east coast and brother from the west coast, two totally different cultures. New York brothers, down south brothers, totally different cultures. So, you know, subcultures, so to speak. So if we were to go to Africa, first of all, we don't understand the African mindset if we're coming from the West. We don't speak an African language. Most of us don't. So we don't understand the internal mechanisms of an African thought pattern. We're coming to some black people, though we look black, we have a white man's mindset. Right off the bat, that's going to cause some problems because we have not been schooled in the thought of black people, i.e., Africans. though we are black people ourselves, and some people may call us Africans ourselves, and I'm not mad at that, because whom else can we identify with? Uh, and so I would say that that becomes a problem when you take a black man that's really his internal wirings are that of a white man and put him in the midst of black people. You're going to have some problems. And if
Yeah.
we're coming from the West, we are nothing but black people with a white man CPU in our brains going in the midst of black people. Oh, that's an automatic problem. We can't speak the language. Our mindset is that of a European in the midst of some black people. Or you're a foreigner right off the bat. The minute you start talking, you don't speak the language. Your understanding is not that of the culture, or you don't even understand how a black person thinks because your thinking from the day of your birth has been that of a European. So there's an issue right there.
Well, also,
As
who's going back? Who's the ones who are going back?
You're breaking up terribly, brother Dave.
yeah, terribly. Yeah, you might have to. I
Is
don't know. You might have to go to a different
is it the
location, Elder Dave.
ones who are following the law, statutes, and commandments? Yeah. Good grief. I might have
Yeah,
to. Better. Can you hear me?
yeah.
I can hear
Maybe
you now.
you think it
Yeah.
might be a camera
Uh,
issue. Maybe if you turn the camera off. I don't know.
okay. Maybe it's bandwidth, and yeah. Hopefully this might work better. Um. Uh. Now, bloody hell! Now I forgot where I was going with it. What did I say?
Dave.
Statues,
Brother Dave.
Oh, right. So yeah, I was basically saying that yeah, who are the ones going back? You know, is it the ones who follow the law, statutes, commandments? Yeah.
No, I don't
Um,
think so. I think it's just
well, that's what I'm.
general
That's what
people.
I'm trying to. That's what I'm trying to get at. We're getting the people who are, as Brother Lee said, who've got the white, Western CPU, thinking I can make more money, I can have a better life, I can do, you know, over there, and yeah, they're going over. We haven't been called to leave yet. We haven't, the Exodus hasn't happened yet. Yeah, there are going back to the Old Testament, it does say, and I can't remember offhand where it is, that people left Egypt before they were told to, essentially, before Moses led
Yeah,
them
yeah.
out. There was a whole group of people left and they were decimated. Only a couple managed to make it back just to tell the others that, it was bad out there. So those who are leaving right now to exodus to Africa before the actual exodus, I think are suffering the same fate.
All
Yeah,
right, so
brother.
I'm gonna come to this from a different perspective. All right, so yes, you have, and I just want to put this out there. If you are not keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, it doesn't matter where you go on this earth. The problems are going to follow you.
Indeed.
But in contrary to that, if you have dedicated yourself to the Most High, and if you have keeping your mind, keeping Him at the forefront, and you are detaching from that slave consciousness, that's what the elder you just explained. That white man is a slave consciousness. If you are focused and dependent on the monetary systems, and you still trying to take the westernized culture and put it into Africa, you're gonna have problems. And I think that's where a lot of our people run into. And then the local people, they don't coexist with that type of mindset. So it starts in the mind. If you truly want to depart out of the United States of America and be able to sustain yourself in countries like Africa, you have to change your thought process. You can't go in there thinking that, okay, I'm going to make this money, I'm going to live in this big house. Like, you can't chase tangible things. It's a totally different lifestyle. So for me and the people that I've known, and because there are Hebrew Israelites who do keep the laws and who are state told, you know, doing their best to pursue a righteous lifestyle, who have left. I know people in Ghana, I know people in Nigeria, people in Zambia, South Africa, Kenya. I know people in Tanzania, throughout the continent. And one thing we do have in common, and of course, I'm in Northeastern Africa. One thing we do have in common is security. The Most High provides security for us because we don't have the mindset where we trying to chase the dollar. We are content with whatever the Most High has provided for us. We understand, basically for myself, I understand that it's about what I need, not necessarily what I want at this point. But what I do tell those of our people who do keep the law, who are into different places, like I mentioned before, use this time wisely to self-reflect and to self-analyze and to build yourself up, internally. Use this time to do that. And I think that's what, if our people want to leave and want to, come to different places, you have to have that on your mind. You have to think of self-improvement, because out here you have a lot of time. It's not like your 9 to 5 jobs. Especially if you're looking for a 9 to 5 and things like that, you're not gonna make it. You have to become self-sufficient. You have to be creative, innovative on how to make ends meet. The Most High provides, the resources. I haven't had any testimonies where someone was out here, kept the Most High at the forefront, and lacked food, lacked shelter, lacked clothing on their backs. I just haven't heard that.
Mm.
So like I said, it all depends on your mindset and your thought process. And if you're still into the world and you still into this chasing money, trying to chase materialistic things, then yeah. And like I said, that's for most of our people, in the United States. You're gonna have a hard time out here in Africa.
That's it.
You know, I'll tell you what, there's going to be a change, a forced change, for we have been accustomed to this nose to the grinding stone type of lifestyle. And once, right now we're seeing economically things are tough. When the winds come and the hails come and the snow comes and the earthquake comes, and then the war comes, I mean, our people are really going to have to make a decision, as far as you've stated, being self-sufficient, depending upon each other, small businesses providing services to each other.
Mhm.
Uh, this is going to be the part where every man is going to draw to his own people. We're going to have no choice, because
Mhm.
no other people have ever drawn to us in any way, shape, or form. I've just seen a meme the other day where the fellow was sitting there and he was thinking, and the meme read that I've never seen a commercial for a Chinese restaurant. And I thought about that. I've never seen a commercial for a Chinese restaurant. I've seen for Zaxby's, Burger King, Sizzlers, or whomever, right? But I've never, ever seen one for a Chinese restaurant. But
Mhm.
yet we're the biggest patrons of Chinese food. So our people have been sustaining every other form of people, and no one has ever come to sustain us, so to speak. Uh, so it's going to get to the point to where, as everyone draws to his own people, our people are going to have to find a way by which to be self-sufficient by providing all the goods and services within ourselves. It's going to get, I do feel it's going to get that bad. Now, with that said, as many of us would do our best to try to get this word to our people, it's kind of it's heartbreaking to kind of think that only 10% of our people will return back onto this law. So most of the brothers that we're looking at and talking to don't want to hear what you've got to say, in spite of the fact that they can look, well, maybe they can't, but you would think an average person who has a functioning brain would be able to look and see, what I'm looking at isn't right. Based on what I've been told and based on what I'm seeing, those two clashes, they don't really coincide or not together. Many of our people refuse to even acknowledge that, okay, something is wrong. Uh, and so therefore, if you try to speak to them about righteousness and that man is engaged in any form of wickedness, he doesn't want to hear it.
Mhm.
It's hard to see it if you're already saved and you can do what you like because you've already been saved, right? Life's good. Yeah.
But
Well
saves,
said, brother Dave. Well
yeah,
said. Yep.
it saves the mind's blind, the eyes cannot see.
Speak.
Mhm.
I'm gonna touch on that for a hot second for our people that's listening. Like I said, any man with a functioning brain should consider certain things. Here we are, we have been raised up in these Western nations where we have been held captive. And from the day of our birth, many of us within the first year, we're christened into Christianity. We're going to these churches, seeing this big white man on the wall. We're going through these books, seeing all these white angels, the white gods, etc., etc. And I don't think many black people have ever sat and considered to themselves, why is it that a white man is coming to save me? When I look around from the time that I'm 10, that I can see is that white people own everything, control everything, and they're killing our people before our faces in all the nations where we dwell. And my father tells the same story, and my grandfather tells the same story. And if we go back 6, 7, 8 generations where no one's alive, when we look at the historical records, these very people have gone around and killed and slaughtered not only my people, but any other type of people. How is this man that has murdered, slaughtered, enslaved, raped, and stolen the lands of every manner of people on this planet? How is this man coming to save anyone when we can look through the archives and we can look in our present day today and see where this man has been nothing but ungodly in the sight of all the people on the face of the earth? How is
Mm,
this man coming to save us?
mm,
Everything that we see is contrary to that. And I don't think anyone ever sits there and give that any thought.
mm. You know, the problem, that's really amazing. And from a neurological standpoint, we don't, a lot of our people, I think they have some awareness in, when it comes to this whole ideology of Christianity, because like you said, they see it. But the problem is that a lot of us as human beings, we operate 90% of how we operate is based off our subconscious thoughts. So their subconscious is basically controlling them. They know that these things is not lining up, but whatever has been instilled to them, they've been taught from their parents, their grandparents, it's just been passed on down to them. It's the brain can do things that we're not even aware of. It can allow us to believe or certain things that's not real. So I think our people, first off, I think that we need to take some time to first turn to the Most High for sure. And then just sit back and truly think, about these things and really dig deep and analyze, do your research. What I mean, I think research is a big thing when it comes to breaking away from this Christian mindset. I always tell people go back and look at the etymology of Christianity, go back to the ancient Egyptians and how it evolved from there, and just you have to deprogram yourself, man, and that takes a lot of work that you got to be willing to put in the work to do in order to break away from that. So, yeah, I just think a lot of our people acting off their subconscious thoughts, man, and they're just not aware, of how deep their traumatic experiences passed on from their grandparents and so forth and so forth has taken a toll on them. So, yeah, man, we gotta try to pull away from that mindset, that slave conscious, like I mentioned earlier.
I think we're seeing some
Yeah,
of
I
that.
think.
Go ahead, brother Dave. Go ahead, brother Dave.
Yeah, I was going to say. I think the book actually also talks. Not talks about it, but it it prepared us for this. Um, I think in Daniel it says, "Shut up the book until the end." Right? Um, so how do you shut up the most popular book in history? The most well-read, most well-loved book in history. How do you close it up so that it can't be understood until the end? And when you look back at it, it has to be the whole introduction of New Testament and JC. That introduction basically coded the book, right? So if you believe in JC, if you've got JC in your heart, right, every word of the Old Testament is through the lens of this JC character. Yeah, so you can't read it, you can't understand it, and it is now only at the end that we are starting to, or a few of us are starting to wake up and realize, hang on, there's an actual story here, and it's about us. And it's not about this Christian dogma that that they've been forcing us, and now the book is open to us, right? But the consequence is that the wicked amongst us, right? And when I say wicked, that also includes people who maybe are on the fence but haven't taken a step to the Most High. Because I think the phrase I like to use is better make a choice because the devil owns the fence. Yeah. So, maybe people aren't actually wicked, but they haven't, taken a step towards the right side. So yes, yeah, I'll leave that there anyway.
Yeah, that's a good point there, Brother Dave. I mean, I think, like the Most High said, that we will not be allowed to be as other people. And so the wickedness that we're seeing, we have to remember that we were delivered into the hands of the wicked. So into the hands of our enemies, into cruel people, wicked people. And so I've always my thought process has always been the biggest mistake of an Israelite, aka a black person in the diaspora, is to expect righteousness out of unrighteous people, justice out of unjust people. But yet we will get in the streets in March and beg our oppressors for righteousness. They don't know what that is, have no idea. They can't give it to us. And so once we come to that understanding, we're going to stop asking wicked people for righteousness, unjust people for justice. This is where our problem lies. Uh, we're seeing now that in the Sahel with Brother Torre, who right now is one of the biggest stars, quote unquote, on the African continent as far as the leaders. All of these leaders are corrupt. They're 100 years old. They're lying to the people, robbing the nation's resources, and in bed with the white man, in bed with the European. And so now, Brother Torre is like a new breath of fresh air in the midst of African leaders. He's going to do for the people, and he's going to cut off all the oppressors and make the place self sustaining. And it's about high time these African nations take these wigs off their heads in their courtrooms and stop trying to be like other people. Especially, this is the part that just blows my mind. Why are you trying to be like the most wicked people on the earth? That is what is the most amazing thing to me. This man is, man, if you look at any group of people, black people, Asian people, Native American peoples, Asian peoples, and let's go to the Indian man, the East Indian. All of these people are victims of the Europeans' violence, whether it be rape, murder, land theft, testing the weaponry on them, testing the medical experiments on them. This man has been a menace on the earth. And I'm thinking what the whole family, the human family, is beginning to identify. This man is a problem. And that's why it's going to be said, is this the man? People are going to start letting go of this man. We're seeing them having problems now in the midst of their own families. The Russian man, the French man, the German man, the Italian man, the white American man, etc. You see them all trying to go up against Russia. I find it interesting that the Russians are the only Europeans that's never enslaved, murdered, and raped African peoples or black people as a whole, and that they're being raised up to go against the European of the West, i.e., the Christians, because you have two factions of Christianity. You have the Orthodox Christians who are in Russia, and you have the regular Christians who are over here in the West. You've got East and West Christianity. These are all the same families of people. Their flag colors are the same. And I let my people know, don't let the language fool you. These people are of the same house. If you took Putin and threw him in Congress, you couldn't tell the difference. He's just another white dude. But at the end of the day, as our families were broken apart and we were fighting one against the other, in these latter days, the Most High will do the same to their families. And I think that we're seeing that. And we're also seeing a rising up of our people recognizing who and what this man really is. We're seeing this contention between India and Pakistan. Now, once again, once people have been placed in this state of ignorance, in this state of darkness, then they're bound to do things that makes no sense. Pakistan is nothing but an imaginary line drawn in the midst of the land of India. Indian man and a Pakistani man is an Indian man, period. They're brothers, same genetics, same people, separated by a religious ideology, Hindus and Muslims. But yet, here you have a family of the same people, Indians, and Indians are smart dudes. My doctor's an Indian guy, had a good Indian buddy while I was growing up. Now, so they're smart people, but their knowledge, wisdom, and understanding has been removed from them to where they have a hate for their fellow brother based on an imaginary line drawn in the midst of the land. And one brother will buy his weaponry from his oppressors to kill his own brother, which is just amazing to the ignorance of the peoples of the earth. You have the same thing going on in Korea. So I'm thinking at some point, these nations, India and Pakistan, is going to realize, hey, why are you buying these weapons from these Europeans by which to kill me? Do you not see what's going on here? These are the very people that's raped and oppressed us, have taken our land. And now we're going to buy weapons from them by which to kill each other. Let's not do that. At some point, these nations are going to wise up to the tactics of this man.
All right. So you said a lot there, Brother Lee. So I'm going to go because I made notes here, so I'm going to go through a couple of your points. I was told off recently because okay, there are people who still believe in JC, and when we're talking, you know, JC appears in the conversation. I am compelled to make a point that, you know what, I don't believe that's real. I've read this, and I was told off because I have this compulsion to convert, as it were, convert people back to the Most High. And I realized that, you know, that's our job, really. We're in this time, we have to, you know, because you know, so few of us are going to make it. And at this point, the only thing that's not defined is which one of us, you know, who amongst us are going to make it, you know. And you know, it's like us having to be the watchman on the wall. You know, if we you know see the enemy coming and we don't say anything, it's on us. Yeah, if we see the enemy coming and warn everybody and they don't do anything about it, it's on them. Yeah, so it's literally this conversation has basically answered the question that I had in my mind, that, you know, why is it that I'm trying to convert everybody? You know, why am I doing that? Yeah, so that this conversation just answered that for me. That, you know, that is actually our job that you mentioned was, you know, why you know, are we trying to be like you know, these people who are fundamentally wicked? Well, we've been brainwashed our entire lives, right, to adhere to one standard of beauty, to adhere to one standard of morality, one standard. Yeah, the whole of this society, the whole of Western society, and actually Western society is their society. The whole Western society is built around their model of the perfect human. Yeah, even though, you know, won't go there. The perfect human, and that perfect human doesn't look like us. Yeah, so we, you know, with this you know, Martin Luther King mindset of let's integrate, yeah, let's be like, you know, all be one together. You know, we a lot of us have tried to adhere to that standard. And yeah, it doesn't work. It never has worked and never will work. But that's the motivation of people, that they feel that, and it's not just us. You know, if you go to Japan, for instance, go to Japan,
Dave,
you'll
you're breaking up.
see people people,
You're breaking up.
walking turn my camera off. Sorry.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, I've had to turn my camera off. Yeah.
One second, brother
Okay.
Dave. So you guys know, in case my computer is trying to restart. So if it does, I'll be right back. That's all I'm saying. Go ahead,
Okay.
brother Dave. Continue.
Okay. Yeah, it's not just in our country, the countries we're found in. If you go to Japan, you'll see people walking around with on a hot day with umbrellas, right? Because
Yeah.
they do not want to take on any color, right, from the sun. Okay, because there's that hierarchy all over the world, that caste system all over the world. That white is right, and black is bad. Okay, and if you go to India, for instance, right, their caste system, right, is a color chart. The Brahmins at the top are Caucasian looking, and the untouchables at the bottom are black, are very black. Right? And everyone is, anyone in between, the lighter shade you are, the higher you are on that caste system. So it's, it's not just these Western countries, it's the entire world that have been brainwashed to love white. And the last point, and I'm talking too much, but the last point is that I'd like to offer a reason why Russia has never done anything to us. The Canaanites, lived amongst us, and we were told to wipe the Canaanites out, right? But we didn't. We chased a lot of them out, right? And they became Confederate against us. But I believe there were, other groups of Canaanites who lived amongst us, right? That didn't turn against us. And I found out that the Russians and the Slavic people were Canaanites because the first Slavic language was called Cananic. And when you look at an ancient map of Europe, you'll see, Russia and the Baltic regions were called Big Canaan or Greater Canaan, and Germany was called Little Canaan. Yeah. So and the biggest group of Slavic people who live outside of Europe, right? There's one place on earth where there's a large concentration of Slavic people, right, who don't live in Europe, and they live in a place which, if you look at the name of the place in Paleo Hebrew, it means this is Canaan. Right? Do you want to have a guess where that is?
I have no idea, brother Dave. That's good knowledge. Drop it on me.
Well, okay, I'll give you another clue because it leads into it, right? The ancient language is backwards to English, right? And the word "da" means essentially "this is."
I don't know.
No, Canada, Canada.
Canada,
And that's the only place outside of Europe you've got a concentration of the Slavic people. The word Slav is where the word slave comes from, right? And Canaan was cursed to be the servant of servants. And in the Middle Ages, the Canaanites were the slaves of the Edomites, essentially. Yeah, so yeah, I'm going away. So I'm just trying to say that the Russian people, right, maybe because these families have split up now. The Russian people haven't come against us because they were the first slaves essentially of these other nations.
That's interesting, brother Dave. That's some knowledge that I did not know. I'm certainly going to keep that in mind. And I'm thinking this is where the importance of channels such as this and sitting down and having these talks, folks can kind of look up some of these things. That way we can better understand why things are the way they are. Because certainly we're saying that they're moving towards Russia. They're going to. The book states it's not going to go good for them against the Russians, the Chinese, and the Medes and the other kings of the coast of the earth that will come with them. They've already done the war games, and they know that they're not going to win. However, there's an appointed place and appointed time that they have to be. And Mr. Trump is right now trying to ensure that he's trying to talk, hey, let's talk it out, let's work it out. That may be a good stalling tactic for the moment, but at some point they will get down in the valley of Jehoshaphat and get it in. So that's coming.
I want to mention also about, I want to go back to Ibrahim Traore and, the situation with Africa. A lot of these different African countries are aligning themselves. I agree with you, Elder Lee. These are nations that are cut from the same cloth, in my opinion. It just ain't Russia's time yet. The one thing that we got in this book, I have a slightly different opinion than Elder Dave as far as who Russia is, but that is good information. I will research that. Um, but the good thing about knowing the Most High and being in tune with the Most High is we have the ability to see the future. You know, as far as Magog in Russia, I look at Magog as being Russia. So bringing it back to Ibrahim Traore, I think that I don't want him to get, and I don't want these African nations to get so caught up in, okay, we trying to pull away from the West that you trade one slave master for another. The United States might have been giving you 5%, but Russia said, okay, we'll come in and give you 10%. I don't want them to fall into that type of trap. So, but the prophecy says that Russia has an ulterior motive. You know what I'm saying? I feel like Russia does have an ulterior motive in why they're aligning themselves with Africa, even the Chinese. I don't think that this is, oh, we're putting our arm around you because we care about you so much. I think that they want the natural resources as well, just willing to
Yeah, of
give
course.
a little bit more than what the West was giving them. But I mentioned Magog is because prophecy says in Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39 that they will come against the Holy Land. And why would they come against this? Because of the natural resources. So I think that they do have an ulterior motive, and I just would like, hopefully that they can be aware of and see that, these people don't have their best interests at heart either. So just want to put that out there.
So, do you believe that the West, like there's remnants of the Israelites there? Because
I'm sorry.
when we got spread out, when we got spread out in the west of Africa, that's where a lot of the Israelites went. So, do
Hmm.
you think there's remnants as us there? And Ibrahim Traore is a part of that?
So are you asking, is there still remnants of us there in Africa?
Yeah, yeah,
Um, do I think that the children of Israel are still in West Africa? I'm trying to, it was kind of
yeah,
choppy a little
yeah,
bit.
yeah,
So
yeah.
can you
That's what.
rephrase your question?
Yeah. Do you think that like the children of Israel is still in the West
Oh,
Africa?
oh, oh, yeah.
And like uh, he falls up.
Yeah,
Like David, you were saying that you believe that it's Ibrahim Traore it's about
absolutely. I definitely so
freezing up.
Brother Dawid,
Henry,
you're
if you
frozen.
talking, you froze up too.
Oh,
I'm
so
frozen?
yeah,
No, you're good now. You're good now.
I'm okay. So Dave was
Oh,
saying that.
okay.
Yeah, Dave was saying that Ibrahim Traore it's about the Most High,
Hmm.
probably something to do with that.
Hmm.
And so you think that Ibrahim Traore is a part of the remnants of the Israelites because it's in West Africa.
That's highly possible.
Oh,
It's highly possible. I do know that they have the Fulani people, and as it is, I don't know if you heard about the news, what happened with the Fulani people when it came to their clashes with the Burkina Faso army. But these Fulani people were slaughtered, civilians were slaughtered by Burkina Faso's army. So maybe that could be some tribal differences. Maybe they might be from different tribes, fighting amongst each other or whatever. But I know that the Fulani people have roots to the ancient biblical Israelites. Also, that's the only people I know in that for Burkina Faso area. Now, when it comes to Nigeria, Ghana, you have the Ashanti, you have the Igbo people, you have the Yoruba people. These are extensions, from the Bantu people who inhabited the Niger-Congo area. So even when you're going down into Gabon, you have the Fang tribe. So it's also, yeah, there's plenty of different tribes right now in Western Africa that do have biblical roots to the children of Israel. But as far as Ibrahim Torre, I'll have to dig a little bit more deeper in where where he actually comes from, um, in his tribe to be able to substantiate if he's an Israelite or not. So I don't have that
Well, this,
information.
they call him a Muslim. That's what a lot of people say, that he's a Muslim.
Yeah,
But
right.
a lot of Israelites, the family
Mhm.
converted to Islam.
Right. Yeah, yeah,
A lot of
absolutely.
people
In
didn't know who
Christianity
they
as well.
was.
In Christianity as well. Like, for
Yeah.
instance, the Yoruba people in, Nigeria, predominantly of them, they do know they Israel, but the majority of them are into Christianity,
Mm.
so yeah, you still have, some of our people in the western coasts of Africa and throughout Central Africa as well, in the Congo, South Africa, of course, you know about the Zulu people, who have extensions from the children of Israel, the Tswana people, so yeah, you have a lot of our people that have been scattered out into throughout all the coast of Africa that still have roots to Israel.
You know, I've come across a couple of brothers that they they will contend that we do not have any there are no Israelites in Africa, and I don't see how that is even possible.
Mm,
I know for certain if we've been scattered to the four corners of the earth, if there's anywhere that we're going to be, it's there. That's the highest concentration of black people that there is on the whole entire earth. Uh,
mm,
and outside of that, you've got us in high concentration in Brazil. So if we're talking about a scattered people who have had everything stripped from them, you can find us in the diaspora as well as in Africa. I'll tell you what, I would love for the Most High to keep me around long enough to see is to see the gathering of the house of Israel and to be embraced by your family. And there's no tribal nonsense, just nothing but love and being thankful for the deliverance of the Most High, reuniting the family, placing us in a place where we don't have to worry about cops killing our kids or teachers targeting our 5-year-olds or anything like that, to where our safety is not a concern. We don't have to deal with someone molesting our child. We don't have to deal with someone stealing our property, our goods, and things like that, because everyone is walking in the law, statutes, judgments, and precepts of the Most High. I don't know if anyone's ever been to Africa, but I'm going to tell you what, as a black man, quote unquote, when you're standing in the midst and if you're around nothing but black people as far as your eyes can see, that feeling is a totally different feeling. And there's many black people in the diaspora that's never experienced that before. Where when you look around, there's nothing but people that look like you everywhere. If you have a problem with a man, it's because he simply doesn't like you or you simply don't like him. It's not because he's looking at you from a racial perspective. Uh, I'm thinking it will be a great day to see the house of Israel unite in that regard. And I'm thinking in that reunification, there will be many surprises as to who an Israelite is when that does occur.
Um, I have to say that I've experienced that going to St. Lucia for half the year. Um, the only white people you see, or the only people of other nations you see, are usually the tourists, and they usually only come, en masse on certain days. So most of the time, you're amongst your own people, and even the police. They've got police over there, but they don't take any notice of you. Um, you don't get that feeling when you see a police car over there, which is essentially a white pickup truck. Yeah, you don't get that sort of that stab of, well, yeah, am I doing anything wrong type I don't know if you, well, sure, we all get that, if you see the blue lights behind you, you go, what are they gonna, is this my last day on earth, Um, no, you see a policeman, it's nothing. They go past you. They only appear when something's happened and they're trying to sort it out. Um, and yes, you park anywhere you like on the road. You do anything, pretty much anything you like, and nobody cares. Nobody worries you. Nobody bothers you. It's a completely different experience. So yeah, I've experienced that.
Yeah, that would be a good thing. I mean, I know certainly down in Central, South, and Latin America, and even here in America, there's many. I mean, certainly the Caribbean nations and some of those other nations, African nations, they are their governmental system. The president, vice president, or whomever, prime minister, and the whole legislation. It's all black people, but these are corrupt individuals because many of these nations have yet to rise up by which they can provide a decent standard of living for its citizens. So, though in some of these nations you have the leadership looks like the people, the leadership adheres to the instructions of the European nations whose intent is to do ill towards that nation and its people. And many of these leaders will acquiesce to these nations and do harm to their own people. So I'm thinking, as we go back to brother Torre, Abraham Torre, I hope I'm pronouncing that last name correctly. It is good to see the young men raise up or rise up because it's the old man that has led us into this mess. And so this is why nowadays you look at an old man. Most of these old men have never had any fight in them. I'm not saying all of them, but many of them never have. They're just looking to not fight. How can I be as quiet and as peaceful as possible and I don't have to fight you? But many of our people are beginning to realize that, look, if you're in a war zone, not because you don't want to fight means you won't get shot. And so this is the understanding that we're going to have to come to. I'm thinking, we had an incident here where a young brother was accused of stealing a vehicle, and him and his buddies ran. The cops shot this young man and killed him. Now, stealing a vehicle is not a death sentence, but they claim that he's had a gun, etc. So they shot him. We've seen this 1,000 times before, but his dad wasn't going for that,
Yes.
and so it's about time we get to the point to where we understand this is war, and so you're not going to just kill my son and have me go in the back and give me $6 million and think that's going to get it done. No, I want your son dead, and that's just the way it's going to be. And once we return back onto that law, what makes the law in the Most High's words very different from the nonsense that they've given us in this New Testament is that it is indeed an eye for an eye, and that we're not to have someone kill our sons and our daughters and go in the back and take some money. That's a disrespectful and despicable thing. Uh, and the men of Israel is going to understand that if we're at war, that we must fight. But at the same time, we can't go fighting our enemies unless we keep the Most High before us. That's how we have always won.
Mm.
I was actually going. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I was also going to talk about or just mention in Africa there are a lot of our people there, and they call themselves our people. They've always called themselves our people. They've called themselves like B'nai Israel, or B'nai Ephraim in Nigeria. Yes, and I can't remember any offhand. I've actually put in the chat an excerpt of from a book I'm supposed to be writing, which is my research on where the peoples are today. Yeah, if anybody watching this wants one, just get in touch with me and I'll send it. But yeah, there's a lot of our people there, but there are also a lot of the Hamites. So the Hamites who were given that land are still there, and you'll find in every African country there are two factions that are fighting each other, and it's usually the Hamites newcomers, our people. So you'll always get, I think it's in Ethiopia, the falashes. The word falasha means stranger. Yeah. Um, so, you'll get the ones who believe the
Mm.
land, and you'll get the strangers. And they're the two people who are fighting, and we're the strangers because I believe we went into Africa after 70 AD when the Romans attacked.
That's
Yeah,
it.
it's quite interesting. Uh, no
Yeah,
matter
you're
where
talking
we go,
about
this
the house of Beta. They call themselves Beta Israel.
the
Um,
Philosophes.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
sorry, there's a delay. There's a delay. Sorry. Yeah, I have a slight delay. So, Elderly, you can go ahead and continue. I said that like a few seconds before you spoke, but it's a
Okay,
delay, so
okay,
you can go ahead.
no problem. Now it will be interesting to see when all of these things come about. Let's touch on Gaza because there's no way that we can actually conclude this conversation without dealing with what's happening there. For it is happening in the land. There's much contention between, okay, is the land in the in Northeast Africa? Is it in America? Is it here or there? There's many Israelites that's stating that the land is everywhere. Anyway, I do believe that based on what we're seeing right now that's in the land, there's going to be a few things that's going to be made plain to everyone that's following the book, everyone that's reading, and everyone that's walking within the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, and precepts. I'm thinking it won't be long before these Israelis are ran out of that land. It's getting closer and closer every day based on what I can see. And I've always stated on my channel as well as here is I believe this starts in the Golan Heights. This starts in Syria. We will see. Uh, however, right now it's getting to the point to where there's nothing left. Everything that they can do on a small scale has been done, and it has not worked. So now big guns have got to come out. The big show is getting ready to start, and it's going to be increasingly difficult on all the nations of the earth when this goes down. The Most High, based on my understanding, has strengthened those Iranians by which to take on America and its allies. And he will raise up other nations from the coast of the earth to rock with them. And he's got something for this place that they're not prepared for. The body bags will be coming here. The gas prices are going to be going up. Jobs are going to be lost. Uh, all this trading in China and Russia is coming to fight as well. So there are going to be trade disruptions, and there's going to be lack of certain items, goods, because China, I want to say, provides 80% of the medication that comes here. You go to war with them, you've got a problem because you will not be getting those medications. Many of the people here are on the financial duress, and I would be willing to bet that 8, if not 9 out of 10 people you see are on some form of medication, if not to keep them alive, to keep them mentally sane.
Yeah.
So there's a problem here. And as all of these things compound themselves, suicide rate will increase, divorce rate will increase. Uh, you thought we've had some mass shootings before. You'll
Mhm.
see more of that because people are going to start seeing things being taken away from them. Some of the people that's been on government assistance for quite some time, some of these programs are being taken away. The government is the biggest buyer in the United States. And right now, the biggest purchaser of goods, services, employment, etc., is saying, hey, look, I've got to tighten up my purse strings. So everyone in the nation is going to feel it. So we're having problems internally and we're having problems externally, and they will increase. But when this thing kicks off, it's going to make one thing plain. Many of these, what they call these Christian nationalists and Christian Zionists, etc., many of these Europeans who have funded these Israelis, many of these white nations, these Roman Christian nations who have given them weaponry and have funded them, they're going to be horrified to see them run out of that land. And like I've stated before, the multi-gazillion dollar question will be, well, if these people are not the people of God, then who is? And that's when the terror is going to come. So what's getting ready to take place here, It's not going to be good as far as the destruction that we will see.
Mhm. Absolutely. I just want to kind of add on to that. Yeah, we are in what's going on in the land is very key at this moment because, like you mentioned, the Most High is ready to reveal who is the true descendants of Israel. These Israelis, they, like you mentioned, they have exhausted all their resources for over a year now into Gaza, Hezbollah, Syria, and now they have issues with the Houthis in Yemen. Um, so now that the Houthis have first put a blockade on the Red Sea, which is stopping all the resources from coming in from that area, now they're putting a blockade on the Haifa port. So now they can't even get things coming from the Mediterranean. So the Israelis are dealing with a lot more than just war. They're dealing with a total economic collapse. All their loaners have now pulled back because there's nothing to invest in the land anymore. You also have civil unrest, chaos within. You have Israelis that are fighting against Benjamin Netanyahu, and you have Israelis that are for Benjamin Netanyahu. So be lookout on a civil war before any external problems happen as well. But just to kind of just to piggyback on what Elder Lee said, I truly, without a doubt, am seeing that the Most High is making a purge. Not even, and it's not starting with the Israelis; it's starting with the Arab Palestinians. What we're seeing, and witnessing now is a complete genocide of a people, and all genocides come from the Most High. The Most High is the one that makes that call to wipe out a nation, to wipe out a people. That's though that amount of destruction can only come from the Creator.
Mm.
So we got to ask ourselves, why is the Creator allowing this genocide to happen? Because He's purging any and everybody out of that land that is not about Him, that isn't His people. So it starts with them, and then it's going to go to the Israelis. Now, Israelis are one bad mistake away from totally being wiped out and exterminated. All they got to do is just make this attack on Iranian nuclear sites, and I think that's going to be the end of them. Um, Also, the situation in Gaza, you now start having the whole world turning on them, even their allies, even France and them places, they're now putting sanctions on Israeli goods. The United States, Donald Trump is actually pulling away, even though his Zionist lobbies are still supplying the weapons. I think that Donald Trump is starting to see that the war and backing Netanyahu it doesn't benefit the United States in this aspect. That's why they pulled back from the Houthis in Yemen and pretty much left the Israelis alone. So I still see that coming, and I honestly believe that it's not time for America yet as far as their judgment, but we can see that America's army, all of those of you who really trust in that American army to protect you, they can't protect you. They can't even beat the Houthis in Yemen. Donald Trump went on live TV and said that the Houthis are tired of fighting. That's a lie. Everybody in this region knows that the Houthis put a whipping on the United States Marines military in the Red Sea. Um, Even to the point where they have caused billions of dollars of damage, which the United States can't afford to continue to suffer. So we're, like I said, when it comes to Iran, this new axis of resistance is going to be a major shift in this Middle East, and it's going to end up with the Israelis being run out and judged for sure. So I definitely can see that happening.
It's a tough thing to fight a man when your cause is an unrighteous one.
Mhm.
You can't just leave your land, jump on a plane, fly across seas, go kill a man, and kill his children and blow them up, and come back, fly back to your house, lay down in your bed, and expect to sleep good at night. And the Most High is going to give you rest, going to grant you peace when you have done that. That's why all of these guys coming back, blowing their own heads off,
Mhm.
shooting up. I mean, the biggest threat here is a retired or soldier, Marine, etc. Your life has been out there doing some things you've got no business doing.
Mhm.
You've lost your family. Many of these guys, that military lifestyle is not doesn't bode well with having a family. So these men come back, they've lost their family, the high rate of divorce, high rate of alcoholism, and it's not a problem for them to take a gun and blow their own heads off or shoot and kill their whole family. So we have some men that's mentally aren't stable here because of some of the things that they have done. There's no way you go over to these places and kill these people unjustly who have been no threat to you. your family, or your nation, and you come back here, and the Most High will allow your spirit to rest. So the problem that this nation has with the fights that has been undertaking is that all of your causes have been unrighteous. Therefore, you will not be allowed to win. That's the problem, and that's where I see it, brother Hank. I think brother Hank, this fell asleep in his head, hit his camera.
Okay, there he is. There he is.
So
Yeah.
what are we looking forward to, fellas? As far as right now, we're seeing what's going on in the many nations. Where do we see it going now? And what is our last bit of advice and last bit of counsel and encouragement to the people?
Mhm. Absolutely.
Well, if I might start, um, again, it's the same as I've been saying pretty much all the way through this. Yeah, things are going to get bad, you know, and they're going to get worse. We're at the beginning. I think the WEF have been saying, if you've been paying attention, that 2025 to 2030, you know, all their plans are, you know, due to culminate in 2030. And, you know, the WEF at this point are the like almost the spokespersons of the Anglo-Saxon alliance, which is, you know, essentially who we're up against. So it is going to get bad. It's going to get worse, but do not fear. My view is that we stand and watch. Don't get involved in this, and don't be part of it. What's the phrase? Be of this world, but not part. Was it part of the world, but not of it, or something like that? Which basically saying, don't be drawn into it. Right? We know how to survive what's coming. Yeah, we know how to survive it, even though we might not have lived it. It's in our DNA. You know, our ancestors have lived it for us, right? So we're equipped to fight to survive this. So do not fear, stand and watch.
So I think a lot of the soldiers, like in America, if they got orders to go and fight in Africa against Borneo Faso, I don't know if they would actually go. A lot of people, or would they pull out? Especially the blacks, the Negroes, the black soldiers. I'm not sure if they would actually go, and because everybody sees what's going on now. A
You
lot of
want
people are waking up.
you want me to answer that, brother Hank?
Yeah, yeah. He was.
I'll tell you what. They'll go. They'll go. And I'll tell you why. Because that's all they know, and that's all they've ever known. We can sit here and we can speak of the differences between and the unrighteousness and the inequity that we see in this nation, right? We can speak on that because we are old enough and we understand what's going on at this point. Most High has allowed us to see, and we understand that we are to withdraw our hands and to be separate. We're to separate ourselves from these nations. We understand that. But in the mind of a military man, his thinking is not the thinking that we're having right here. When you're in the Marine Corps or you're in that environment, your thinking is that we're all one. And that's how you operate as one unit. Though the guy that's in charge of you is a straight redneck, the guys that you're dealing with don't like black people and don't like you. We understand, okay, there is a difference racially between all of us. Some of you don't like me because I'm black or whatever. And we understand that the nation itself has the same internal problems. However, once we are landed and dumped off in a different nation, you may not like me because I'm black. You may absolutely hate me, but you're going to have some commonality with me because my life is in your hands and my life is in your hands. So while we're in this nation, we're on the same team because my survival depends upon you. Now, once we pull up out of this nation and get back to the world, what we call the USA, right? Once we get back to America, then you're going to call me an N word like you always have. But while we are here taking these bullets, I'm the man you got to count on. And so these men, their paychecks depend upon them following orders. And they're going to do it because there's no recourse. If a man's in the military and he's getting ready to retire, he's not going to not go and forego his retirement, lose his house, his monies, et cetera, et cetera. So many of our men, we have an economical connection to our jobs. And so we're not going to, very few men will pull a Muhammad Ali and say, you know what? This is unethical. This is unrighteous. And I'm not doing this. I'm going to stand for my people. I'm going to stand against unrighteousness. Man, very few brothers have the gall to do that.
Is it you think that they don't think outside the box? They just because it's just been they've been trained to be think that way.
They've been trained to think that way. They've been trained to think that we're all one nation, though everything before their eyes shows them that they're of a different class than everyone else and that our people are below everyone else. Though they see this every day, it's been drilled into their mindset that we are one. Keep in mind, most of these men are Christians. So therefore, they feel as though we're all God's people. That's still their mindset. Uh, and they're not smart enough to realize, okay, we're all God's people. Then why are we over here killing these people in a righteous manner that poses absolutely no threat to us? They don't think in that regard. So therefore, they will go ahead and do the mission. And America has fought many wars, and the black men in the U.S. military have fought in every last one of them. Every last one of them. And though we have fought in these wars, we have come back from these places and been denied the GI Bill, have been denied getting the proper medical care, have been denied being given the proper VA rating by which to achieve benefits after fighting and getting limbs lost and losing our minds in all of these many different lands. So these are things that all the black servicemen are aware of. But yet, we are still the most committed to defending this nation who has not been committed to defending us within the nation. And so that just speaks to the commitment of our people to unrighteousness. That's one way to put it, to where we can see that everything is unrighteous, but we still continue to be hopeless romantics that things will get better. So that's a testament that we are some of the most loving and forgiving people upon the planet because we will see wrong, have wrong done to us, and still hope for a better day and a better outcome. Uh, and at some point, people will call you a fool for believing in doing these types of things. And I would hope that we would wake up. But to your point, Hank, if our men would have the gall to do something like that, we would have seen that being done time and time again. The only example in my lifetime and slightly before my lifetime that I can see where men did such a thing was one, Muhammad Ali, and two, Colin Kaepernick with the NFL. But the average man is not willing to risk his livelihood on the behalf of his people. Because once you do that, then you turn and realize that your people got a knife out for you too. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a double-edged sword.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That's deep. That's deep. Um, to answer your question, Elder Lee, about what we see going on and any advice for the people, I'm not even going to show. I'm just going to be straight honest with you. From my lens in this area that I am right now, um, this is a time like we're about to witness like no other, man. We never seen witnessed in our. I never in my lifetime witnessed the genocide of people through starvation. I'm talking about at the moment you have people in Gaza, hundreds of being killed a day at this
Mm.
moment. What they're doing is, like I said, they have those Israelis that said we're no longer playing with the small guns anymore. We're going to pull out the big ones, and they're using advanced military arsenal that is decimating a people. I'm telling you, it's brutal. So to be honest, where you got to come in, you're going to have this nuclear war is coming. You've seen a glimpse of it possibly with Pakistan and India. These are two nuclear powers. All right, people who have nuclear arsenal that are fighting against each other, and that hasn't stopped. That's going to continue. You have the situation with Yemen, in which I feel like a nuclear bomb is going to be used at some point. It may be the Israelis that initiate this with Yemen because Yemen is a thorn in their side that they can't defeat. You know, or you can have the situation where they might try to use it on Iran, regardless of who's going to use first. I feel like it's coming. All right, and then it's just going to be like a domino effect. It's just going to be like just going to continue to just the chips is just going to continue to fall, and there's going to be a lot of casualties on this earth, and then eventually it's going to reach the United States. So this is not a scare tactic. I'm just telling you what I see. And when the advice that I want to tell everybody is that this is the time. I know it's kind of cliche. We say this all the time. Turn into the law, statutes, and commandments. But even with that as the foundation, start to really look internally in yourself, look within yourself, and try to purge out any and everything that is contrary to the Most High, whether it be pride, whether it be arrogance, whether it be stubbornness, whether it be a lack of compassion that you have, or for yourself or others. Try to look deep and try to cross all your T's and dot your I's within yourself. So when that time comes that you can be elevating on a certain frequency that will protect you from all these things. Um, Economic collapse, even the brothers in the States, I recommend in this new technology world, uh, learn a trade, learn a trade, blue collar work, construction, electricians, plumbers, these type of things, truck drivers. These are the things that will still be predominant even in even in the evolution of technology. Try to, like I said, find something you can work with your hand. That's going to be, your bread and butter during these days and times. But yeah, just do the inner work at this time because it's going to get bad.
Okay.
I'll finish up with this as it pertains to Brother Hank. Go ahead. You got something to say? Go ahead.
No, no,
Or you
no.
want?
No,
Okay.
I'm okay.
So look, as it pertains to these Israelis, finish out dealing with them. Now we know clearly the book states that once the house of Israel is gathered from the four corners of the earth, that he will place us back into the land. There will be no wars, and that the house of Israel will be able to lay down and be at peace, and none will make them afraid again. Now I see videos where Israelis are running, hollering, screaming, crying, and yelling. Now, how does that fit with the prophecy? Now, we don't have to wait all the way for them to get ran out to know that this thing is false.
Right.
So, all the nations would have to come up before the Most High's temple. They would have to come up once a year. The house of Israel, we would have to appear before him 3 times a year. These Israelis been up in that land for a minute. There is no temple. No nation has to come up to them once a year for anything. They're afraid and terrified every day, and more so. So it should be clear to the house of Israel and the diaspora, and it should be clear to any white person walking around that's thinking, that is considering, because this is all these things are going to force you to consider once you hear it. And it's going to force you to go into the book and look at it. And many white people are beginning to understand that these white people in this land, these are not the house of Israel. And so now we're at the point to where everyone, regardless of their ethnicity, regardless of their race, regardless of their house of Israel or not, you're going to be faced with a decision. Will I wash my hands from unrighteousness and turn to the Most High's from unrighteousness and turn to the Most High's righteousness? There's laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts by which to deliver myself and encourage my family to do the same. And no one is going to do this based on belief. They're going to have to go into this book and read it and gain a solid understanding of it before they turn to it. And I'm thinking now is the point where all the hypocrisy of this nation and the hypocrisy of the Israelis and all those that had a hand in putting them in that land, financing them, and equipping them with weaponry. Everyone is going to get a chance to see the hypocrisy of these nations and the unrighteousness and wickedness of them. And they're going to start pulling away. America's trying to pull away. France is trying to pull away. And some of these other nations are trying to pull away from these Israelis. However, for them, it's entirely too late for them to pull away. For they have had a hand in everything, and the Most High will bring his judgment upon these nations. So to the children of Israel and to the stranger that is of a contrite spirit, you are to turn to the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, and precepts. Wash your hands from all wickedness, turn to the Most High's righteousness. For we have not been able to get on the same umbrella or to be on the same page with what we've had in times past in regards of all of these religions. However, with the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, and precepts, you can get along just fine with a man from another nation because you will be doing it in righteousness. So the word of the day is to return back onto righteousness, and everything will be well with you and your house in a time of trouble.
Yeah, peace.
Absolutely.
Okay. And anything, Dave?
Brother Dave, you're muted. Oh, he
Yeah,
came.
just realize that. Just realize that. No, I gave my last my
Yeah.
final words. So yeah, stand and wait.
Okay. Okay. Till next time then.
Indeed.
Okay.
Appreciate you
Okay.
having me, man. Appreciate it. Another good
Yeah.
conversation. Appreciate it.
Peace and y'all bless to everyone.
peace.
Also,
Oh,
Brother Benaiah is not here, okay? But I didn't get a chance to speak to him prior to, though I texted him before the Sabbath starts. I'm gonna tell you exactly what he would say. Peace and y'all bless. Continue to walk in the law, statutes, judgments, and precepts. And hello to everyone. Hank, some people on my channel have been asking about when we will have the next sit down with Israelites assembles. So there are people at my channel that actually look forward to these sit downs.
Okay.
I don't know what's going on with if Dave has heard any feedback or if Brother Dawid have heard any feedback, but people actually look forward to these sit downs, Brother Hank. So try to
Okay.
have them maybe once a month, and don't you dare come before the people
I know.
without your beard. You out here scaring animals. You're scaring the wildlife like this, man. What are you doing?
even if you have to use a marker pen, right, to draw it in, yeah.
No, I just one day I just say, okay, let me
You
shave.
scaring folks out here, Hank. What's wrong with you?
Everybody has a certain day when you just change.
No, you can't do that, brother. You ain't allowed to do that.
I don't know.
Yeah, also what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna be going on YouTube and I will be sharing these lives throughout social media platforms as well, so people can start hearing and listen
Okay.
to these sessions for them.
Okay, cool. Okay, we're
Yeah,
trying
brother.
at least once a month.
Mhm.
Okay, cool.
All right. I appreciate your
Okay.
Peace
time.
and y'all bless everyone.
Yeah,
I
peace
really
and God bless
appreciate
everyone.
sitting down and talking to brothers, and it's not a contention, it's not an argument. We're just
Mhm.
gonna do things to uplift the people. Many of these guys online sitting here, they do not have the same ideology. They're sitting here arguing back and forth, and it's
Mhm.
supposed to be about the Most High. But if you both were about the Most High, then you would have compassion for each other and would be doing things to encourage and strengthen the spirit of the people. And
Mhm.
that's exactly what I think we're doing here. And let's continue. Maybe it will be an example of some of these brothers who are out here arguing and then trying to charge people money to look at some foolishness.
Indeed, absolutely. The
Absolutely.
power of disagreement. I
Absolutely.
understand. All right, Rod, appreciate your time. Shalom.
Okay.
Peace.
All right.
God
Okay.
bless.
Shalom, everyone.
Peace and
God bless.
blessing. God bless.